Bayley fans, you have got to hear what she just said about Triple H. And in this video, well, I'm going to tell you what she said and why it's so significant. Because Bayley, she is under Triple H for the second time in her career as he is head of WWE Creative. First, he was in charge of NXT Creative, where she found a ton of success alongside the lights of Mercedes Moné, aka Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and etc. She was on the forefront of the women's evolution, revolution, and now the golden era of women's pro wrestling, in my opinion. And under Triple H, she has done very well, both in NXT and the main roster. 2024 was a good year for Bayley, winning the Women's Royal Rumble match to start off the new year. She then proceeded to break up a faction in which was her brainchild, something in which she had pitched numerous times throughout the years, only for Vince McMahon to turn it down. She then beat Io Sky for the Women's Championship at WrestleMania 40, going on a multi-month reign as Women's Champion, ultimately falling short to the Queen of the Ring tournament winner Nia Jax at SummerSlam, dropping the Women's Championship. They recently ran it back, and of course, Tiffany Stratton, she had to put her nose in business that did not belong, and it was Bayley who had to put over Nia Jax for a second time. Now, under Triple H in WWE, well, the main roster has taken off, catching new heights and catching fire, right? They have never been hotter in terms of profitability, in terms of making money than ever. Sure, they were more popular in the Attitude Era, but not as profitable. They are printing money. And Bayley, well, she, who has been in the trenches of what WWE has been over the last decade or so, well, she is thriving off of it, both creatively, because Triple H is much more open and going back and forth with talent, with ideas and creative, as well as financially. She is getting paid very, very well, and that's good for her. That leads us to today's video, because Bayley, well, she has been making the media rounds, and she recently appeared on the Rob Brown show where she was asked what it was like to work under Triple H. And this is what she had to say. I still can't believe the era we are in right now. Us NXT kids that grew up with him, that in an era that are super lucky that he's so familiar with us. We've got a little taste of then. It's been so different, where it's on a much larger scale. And somehow he still makes time for everybody. In NXT, it was different. We were a smaller roster and a smaller arena to field. Even now, he still makes time for us, from top to bottom, from Randy Orton to me to anybody on the show. That helps the feeling backstage. He makes you feel seen and like he has your best interest at heart. That does a lot for morale and goes a long way. What was the thing about Vince McMahon that everyone heard about? One, he was a control freak. Two, he micromanaged everything. Three, he was a weirdo. And four, he had weird habits. You also had to make appointments to meet with the man, to the point where if you were on the undercard, you would just have to wait outside of his office, wait on the line, or wait until he calls you in. Sometimes never, right? He was intimidating. Chris Jericho, he's always told the story about he would always make sure what Vince was doing before he went into a meeting, because he knew if he was eating, he might as well not even go and take the meeting because Vince wasn't going to hear him, right? The infamous bad cow story. Bayley, she's had multiple character changes throughout WWE, starting in NXT as the lovable babyface gimmick to the main roster, where she did find some success, but it really wasn't until 2019 when she turned heel. She cut the blow-up dolls, essentially, blow-up, entrance gimmicks, and turned heel and became a more serious star. She, under Triple H, found success in NXT, becoming an NXT Women's Champion. On the main roster, he allowed her dream to come true by creating a faction of her own, bringing in the likes of Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Later, Asuka, Kairi Sane, forming Damage Control. That was something in which Vince had always looked down upon. He always nixed. He never believed in her idea, no matter how many times she pitched it or who she pitched involving it. That is what Triple H has been able to do. He believes in Bayley. He sees what Bayley can bring to the table. And he's booked her very well consistently over the years. Large scale, small scale. Triple H, he has also done that with a lot of other talent. You don't necessarily have to be an NXT person for him to really get behind. Because if you look at, say, a Johnny Gargano, a Tommaso Ciampa, a Candice LeRae, they haven't really done a lot on the main roster, even though they were big stars for him in NXT. And I understand DIY, they had a tag team title run, but let's be real, it really wasn't anything serious. He books talent that he likes. He books talent that he thinks can get over or has name reputation. He's also more prone to book someone, if you are a good wrestler, to use you rather than just pure promo skills. I feel like with Vince, it was always, can you talk? Or do you have a look? Then we will use you. Under Triple H, it's much more, can you work? Do you have a look? Then we'll use you. It's very different, right? Andrade is a guy that I believe, he had an amazing NXT run, capitalizing with Zelina Vega as his manager, capitalizing as a NXT champion. But he really never stuck it on the main roster under Vince, even with Zelina. He's starting to find his footing under Triple H now. That's what Triple H has been able to do for talent. That is what Bayley has been able to see. Whether you're a male, whether you're a female, that is what you have witnessed. That is what you've seen with Triple H. And I think as we go forward, I think his vision is going to continuously evolve, and I think it's going to continuously, we'll see what that vision is, right? Because when he took over main roster creative in the summer of 2022, one, he had to finish up Vince McMahon's plans, and two, you had a slow change, right? Big changes really wasn't adapted and pushed until the likes of Kevin Dunn were gone, the sale was done, Vince McMahon was really out for good, right? Because Vince would always have his fingerprints on everything. And it's, look, at the time, it's his father-in-law. At the time, Vince, majority stake owner, shareholder of WWE, he had to politic. Now things have changed, right? Vince is out of the company. He has really no power. Well, he actually has no power whatsoever. He's facing a bunch of allegations, a lot of accusations, a lot of horrific stuff. And who's to say what the family dynamic is, right? Vince, when he tried to come back, the board of directors, that included Stephanie, that included Triple H, that included Nick Khan, they all voted down McMahon's proposal to come back down. They did not want him coming back. He forced his way back in. He legitimately replaced 2 board members with his own. 2 people that he actually fired beforehand in George Barrios and Michelle Wilson. So that's that. But very interesting take here by Bayley regarding Triple H.